Hello, everybody. This is Bob Kingpin Harris with another edition of Pro Sports Broadcasting, and I know I'm going to bring him in right away. But oh my God, Jamie, I can't
Bob,
I can't believe it's 5 years already since we did our
this is
first
fast.
interview. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I
What's
don't know.
the
Time
time?
flew.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing okay. Everybody, let me introduce you to if you haven't seen the show before, and I know it's not out there anymore, but this show is not going away anywhere. So, so this is the man behind your favorite brands. That's what I called the last show, and that's what we're going to call this show as well. This is the pure genius behind many of the brands that you see out there, and we'll talk about that. Many colleges, and oh my goodness, Major League Baseball, and I know you've done Super Bowls, and we'll get into a lot of the different logos and branding that you've created. But this is the genius himself, Jamie Skiles from Phoenix Design Works. And
Thank you, sir.
Jamie, thanks again for joining me.
Oh, pleasure.
I think that
Always.
I know that the last show is very successful. We had a number of hits. You sent it out to a number of folks as well. And
Such a good time with you, buddy.
well, we're gonna have a good time today as well. And
Yes, sir.
before we go into this, Jamie, how long have you? When did you create Phoenix Design Works itself, and how long have you been in this industry?
Oh gosh, 25 years ago, I think. Uh, how long have I been in the industry? I'm one of those people that get to do what I always wanted to do, which is branding. I didn't know it was branding, when I was doing it at 5, 6, 7, but those are my earliest memories are of drawing. And, things evolve. You grow and you learn. And I such a lucky guy to get to do this for a living.
That's fun because I get to do what I like to do for a living, or hopefully pretty soon. And at the
This
end
is
of
your love.
and at the end of the show, we'll talk about that one as well. So because I know you're helping me with that one, but
Hmm.
the thing is that you're so creative, and I'm just going to go
Oh,
ahead and take
thank you,
folks
sir.
into what you do, and you say you love what you do, and I truly believe you love getting up every day and working in your industry and creating a brand from someone. And before we go into showing the folks some of the things that you've done,
Hmm.
talk to me a little bit of when folks come to you and like I came to you, right, with something and I said, here's the name of my company. I
Sure.
mean, but how do folks come to you usually? Do they have an idea in their mind of what they want, or they say, "Hey, Jamie Genius, here's what we're thinking of. What can you think of?" So how does it work? Or does it work both ways?
Well, yeah, usually there is, branding is precipitated by a need for branding. And that can begin with a naming process. We have a number of properties where we've actually worked with a client to create a new name, either a conference transitioning over, or a new franchise, or a new sports team. In consumer, new product development. There's a beverage that hasn't hit the market yet that, you know, their studies indicate there's a need for. Um, so you can go through a naming process, and usually that involves not just how is it going to look at point of purchase or merchandise or things like that, but also what are the iterations? How does it roll off the tongue? Um, and when you create, we also, beyond the branding, we also create style guides, brand guides
Yep.
that could be smaller, larger documents, but sometimes those even get into behavior for staff. When we're talking to the press, we want to be consistent about how we refer to ourselves. When we answer the phones, we want to be consistent. Our email etiquette, and designing fonts that only they can proprietary font systems. It just goes on down the line. But we tend to think of branding as a logo.
Right.
But for me, packaging, advertising, logo, they're all of the same function. We're
Yep.
trying to get a consumer or a fan or one of the groups that support us. We're trying to change their thinking. It's either get them to make a choice or reinforce a choice they've already made. So with a lot of that, of course, with sports, a lot of that involves mascot development.
Right.
And there, we're not just developing the graphic mascot as it's going to appear in the logos and the merchandise and that sort of thing, but also the game day look of the mascot.
And with that, I'm going to start showing some of the slides here,
Sure.
and hopefully you'll be able. I know you'll be able to see them as well. I believe, and here's the first one, and
My beloved Peach Bowl.
yeah, the Peach Bowl, and you're doing. We're going to talk a little bit about this because we've talked about this off camera before. Is these things are so huge. I mean, the banners and everything else that you put together. It must be quite a lot of fun, right? And a challenge in a way, and quite a lot of fun at the same time.
This is probably. I just love these guys. Why I love the Peach Bowl, and this kind of reflects back to one of my beliefs about branding. I don't think people fall in love with logos. And I hate saying that because I'm the guy that's done all the, but I think they fall in love with a moment in time. They fall in love with that connection to the brand, and the logo puts a face on that. I love the Peach Bowl because I love working with these guys, David, Matt, Gary. They're just wonderful people, and they understood everything. They working with them, I learned, and when branding is a team effort,
Yeah.
when you can all work together, it's just so rewarding. And, we're not going for what I want. We're not going for what they want. We're going for what's best for the brand. And when you get to roll it out beyond the brand guides, beyond the logos, beyond the style guide sheets, that sort of thing, and you start working on what the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl calls the look of the game. That's going to entail everything from when you get off the airplane at the airport, 3,500 banners across the city, the 3 major hotels, everything outside the stadium, the Fan Fest, which is gigantic, the stadium itself, which takes because that's going to be that's going to get the most TV exposure. So, but those 3 rings have all been designed along with the field to maximize telling the brand story. So if you look back at some of the visuals that we got, when we started doing the look of the game, I said, when you add up the square footage of everything you're doing, this represents the biggest media buy you guys will ever make. And they're like, yeah, you're right. So if somebody told you just repeat your logo over and over and over, you think, what kind of strategy is that?
Right.
So towards that end, we were really able to work together to develop an equitable, ownable look for the bowl and for the event, and really tell the tale of what the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl is all about.
Right, and next slide I'm going to put up here is you do a lot of college work, you do a lot of pro work, you do commercial work, and we're going to try to hit every slide as possible.
How much time do we have?
We have some time today. We have some time.
Okay.
So, but I'm not going to put up every one that you sent me. But here's something that you did for a
I love
college.
this project too. We worked with and again, maybe I'm just kind of thinking this through, and maybe the most successful brands have the best family relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So working with Binghamton, excuse me, Pat and Dennis, they too had a good vision of what their brand was all about. We worked with them to, for the graphics and stuff, to pull together the brand and refresh it and, bring it up to speed so they could use it. But then we got into branding their facilities. every single surface was branded with this facilities branding program that we did. So the fields, the facilities, the athletics building, and we worked it out so that we could use images of the athletes within certain parameters.
Right.
And again, just telling the story of what their program's all about. Another big thing that we did when we were working with those guys is that we figured out, okay, these things are going to be up for forever, meaning that they're going to have a longer lifespan out there, in the building and the fields.
Yeah.
But these areas are going to be adjustable. So we worked it out so that it was cost effective as they win more championships, as they grow the body of their athletic achievements. They're going to be able to communicate that via their facilities branding without costing an arm and a leg to make those changes. So, that's a design element too. Figuring out how to do this cost effectively is, depending on who you're talking to, just as important as what actually goes up for the branding, creative product. So,
Right. Okay, and we'll pardon the little technical difficulties that we have on the screen. Oh, it finally popped off. It looks like. Thank you very much. It said we were having internet problems, but guess what? If we had internet problems, we wouldn't be talking.
Listen, let me just take this opportunity to talk about you for a minute. The idea of what you're doing with this series and just your whole vision for your network and everything that you're building is brilliant. And we couldn't have done this 20 years ago, my friend.
That's right. And as we've talked about, oh, there goes that stupid error message. Guys, don't worry about that error message. It's going to
ignore the error message.
Exactly, because we're fine. And hey, listen, you're absolutely right. We couldn't have done it 20 years ago because really, internet really wasn't. Maybe it was around, but not for everyday use. That's for sure.
Back in those days, I had a office on the West Coast as well, and we used to do work on the East Coast. Send those files chugging along with a little 56K modem, which was a state of the art at the time.
Yeah.
And just hope and pray that the line didn't drop in the middle.
Oop.
Cross country real time, like we were sitting in the same place together.
Yeah, and we did just drop you just for a second, but we're just going to continue. I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, so yeah, and what I'm doing, and we'll talk about that later. I mean, I really haven't sprung the surprise on the viewers yet, but it's going to be coming pretty soon. No, that's okay. We're going to talk about it together. Next, I want to show another slide here, and this is really cool because we've seen this is on a train, and I don't know if there's buses here, but it's definitely on the train and maybe in the train. And what organization or what school is this?
You know what? My screen, do I need to refresh?
Oh, you can't see it?
No. But that's okay. If you're talking about trains, you're probably talking about Adelphi.
Yep, exactly.
Yep. Yeah. Again, brilliant group of folks. Work primarily with Lori Dugan-Gold and Linda Romano. Brilliant women. Smart, just get it. Boom, boom, boom. I'm with you. They'll add to the process. It's great when you're working with people that challenge you to, up your game. And I think that by all criteria, the work that we did for them was successful. Look, I know they had a great admissions run that year. I know that they continue to use that work today. And I know that we really got to the core of who they are. Here's the thing: when you start any kind of branding process, you're going to have a number of different jobs, and you're going to wear a number of different hats. Your first job is going to be a detective, to be an investigator, to get to the essence of what their brand is all about.
Right.
And, then your second job is going to be a translator. Your job is going to be, how do I take what they need to say and deliver that in a language that their audience needs to hear it in? And then throughout that process, how do I give it legs? How do I make this something that someone who comes into this brand a year from now, who wasn't around for this creative development, can pick it up and build on it and take it from there? So, like I said, the work that, we still work with Adelphi to this day. They're just wonderful to work with. And, that campaign was a ton of fun. I mean, when you get to the point where you're wrapping train cars,
Yeah.
does it really get much better?
Exactly. And how much I know you're putting together the brand and have to tell everybody the dimensions, I'm sure, and
Sure.
but how involved are you, like, let's say the day that this train car gets wrapped?
Well, the funny thing is that Amy, they were emailing Amy, telling her that, because they negotiated their media by themselves. They have their own internal departments and resources, and Amy just happened to be there when the day it rolled out.
Oh.
Yeah, so she was able to she's getting the email in one hand and seeing it come into the station on the other hand. So. Yeah, and that's if nothing else, that's an immersive experience in the brand. I think the other thing too with universities is it has to speak for the university, but it also has to speak for all of the colleges under the university.
Right.
We have to consider time as an element in our branding process. So. A lot of times, if we talk about getting to the equity of the brand, if we talk about getting to the core ownable things that brand has to build on, well, obviously that's our past. We talk about our audience and how we have to speak to our audience. That's our present. But giving them a program that they can build on, that's going to have legs, that's going to be as relevant tomorrow as it is today, that's going to resonate with future audiences, that's our future. You have to take all three of those things into consideration if you're being responsible at all about the work that you're doing.
Right. Now I'm going to put up another slide here, and I'm not sure if you can see it because I think we have some issues on your end. But
Well, you just taught me through it, Bob, and
yep,
and
yep,
yeah.
and it's the first slide that has many different colleges on here, including the Sun Devils. Adelphi is up in the left-hand corner, but there's a
Mm-hmm.
number. You've done so many different colleges in your career and with your company. And again, the company is Phoenix Design Works. And before I let this get too far, tell us how, if a company, a college is interested in getting in touch with you because they're thinking about changing their brand or they need to create a brand, how do they get a hold of you and the company?
Oh, bless you, Bob, because I would have just kept talking and forgotten all about that part. Phoenix Design Works. You can go to our website, phoenixdesignworks.com. That's Phoenix, designworks.com. But we're all over social. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. You can you can contact us through any of those channels too. The process is always begins with it doesn't matter how big you get. You can be a gigantic university, you can be a gigantic. Always comes down to two people talking. Always comes down to basic communication to begin with, and then we talk about how to solve the problems that need solving. On any of those channels, there's an avenue to email us.
Right, and good, and we'll get that phone number as well near the as we go along.
Oh,
But
sure.
I am just showing right now, and I know you can't see it on your side today, but I'm showing some of the colleges in which you've of which you've done work for. There's a number of slides on colleges, and I'm just going to go through them here
Sure.
to let our folks at home see it. I'm on the
Pardon me.
slide right now that actually has Harvard and a number of other uh, colleges.
Yeah, and maybe this is a good time to make a point too that it doesn't matter if you're a Div 1 or a Div 1A, a Div 2, Div 3, whatever the size of your program, whatever we a college, university, it shouldn't matter. The process to achieving a great brand should be the same regardless of scale. And again, I feel fortunate to work with people from a Div 1A level to community colleges, because everybody's brains
Right.
work the same. I know that I was going to say everybody's brains work the same way. I know we're drowning in election debate, quote unquote, coverage, but regardless of the politics of our country right now,
Right.
everybody's brains should work the same way. We're all human beings at the end of the day. We all have the same needs. We all have the same things we value, and so yeah, it's an honor to work with people. And quite frankly, too, one of the things I enjoy about Collegiate is that because we do a lot of consumer branding. We worked with Disney, Reebok, Jaguar, Diageo, on and on. We're
Right.
very fortunate to do that. But and we've also worked for every major league sport there is, whether that's events, franchises, league work, and we're blessed for that as well. With Collegiate, I think that you really see an immediate need. When clients bring you in to the process, they've been living with it for a while,
Right.
and I always feel that you've got to be there in person. You can't just conduct this kind of business on the phone. So that results in a lot of travel. You do a lot of travel too. You know what that's like.
Oh yeah.
But you've got to be there. You've got to be there in person. You've got to solve the problems they want solved, not the problems you imagine they want solved. And so the only way to achieve that is to be there and to work with them. And I also, we're only limited in terms of time. We're only limited in terms of budget. But within those parameters, I like to come up with as many possible solutions as we can. So phase one is always going to be trying to answer those questions in as many different ways as we possibly can. Presentation of phase one, getting feedback from focus groups, and our usually we work with committees, so the branding committee and the focus groups. We're getting that feedback, putting a hierarchy to the responses, and going then to phase two tightens up that process.
Right.
And ultimately, when we get down to the final look of the brand, it's a reductive process. We get tighter and tighter and tighter. Once we decide this is where we want to be, then we can roll that out across every channel that they need to apply it to.
Right. And we've talked about collegiate, and I've even passed the frame as we were speaking with some of the conferences in which you've competed, and now I have one of the slides up there of Major League Baseball that has the Rockies, the Reds, and some other. Looks like Astros as well. Is that correct? You did some Astros at some time, the Marlins, and so you've done Major League Baseball. You've worked with those folks to design.
Wonderful people, wonderful experience, and just a huge part of my life. Being able to work on developing those brands was tremendous experience, and again, you've got a large group of really great, talented people that bring you in. You're able to work with them. Uh, Always very kind, always great. Had a lot of fun. And you look at those brands that are still in use today.
Yeah.
Uh, that's the obviously we do this for a living, but
Right.
emotionally or psychologically or however you want to put it, the a real reward for me is getting to go to the events, getting to get some of the merchandise. I remember we went to our first Rockies game,
Yeah.
and I said, okay, I'll be back. And I came back with a leather jacket, one of those leather jackets that the logos embroider different chunks of leather color, and she said, how are you going to carry that back? I said, this is the only place I could get this. I did this. I'm taking this home.
Exactly. And I had the Rockies up there a second ago, and they're still using that. They're still using the same brand
Sure.
because it's great. I know I was showing somebody the other day. I said, "Yeah," I said, "This is a buddy of mine, and he's the genius behind all this, and
Thank you, sir.
and he's from Colorado." And when I put up the Rockies, he goes, "He did that?" I said, "Absolutely. He's done
He's
so
the
much."
guy to blame.
Exactly. I said, and I said it right there. I said, he is the man behind your favorite brands, and that's that's what we're
very kind of
gonna.
you, sir.
But that is the truth, and here we go. I actually put up a frame.
I love seeing kids. One of my favorite things to do, and this is, there's a Lids. I don't know if it's still there, but there's a Lids at LAX,
Hmm.
and you had to go over to So if I had time in between flights, or or even I was going to LA for projects and I could afford an hour, I'd always go to the Lid store because there would be kids getting off the international flights
Yeah,
and watching them drag their dads or their moms into the Lid store
yeah.
and just, great big eyes and grabbing the teams that they wanted. That's so much fun to see people enjoy the work that you do.
Absolutely. And what I have right now, I just put up a slide here that has some football in there, and that it actually has it's blended. It has some stuff from Super Bowls.
Yep.
It has some NASCAR stuff.
Yep.
It's
Bob, NASCAR is not the NFL.
yeah, NASCAR. That's right. It's not the NFL, but you have a
But it's the NFL of motorsports, that's
yeah.
for sure.
It sure is, and we've got a lot of different logos on here, and it's really
Again,
cool.
just fantastic. I hadn't really thought about this before we were going to do our interview. I'm comfortable with you. You're a good friend, and so I thought, well, we're just going to talk about what we're talking about. But what keeps coming to mind for me is the tremendous people that I realize as we're going through all this, the tremendous people I've gotten to work with.
Yeah.
George Pine, Tish Sheets, those guys were fantastic and really defining NASCAR, at a point in history, at a point in time. And I just, look, I just consider myself so lucky to, we did their 50th anniversary stuff. We did the Busch Series. We did the Craftsman Series. We did NASCAR Rocks. We did NASCAR 2000. So not to date myself, but that would have been for 2000.
Yep.
But we did tons of programs with them, and really all those little pieces come together to build a brand. And
Pretty
I
cool.
wouldn't do anything else.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff. So, and now we're on another slide here, which sorry you can't see.
That's okay.
I see catcher cam on there, so that's more
Yeah.
Major League Baseball. But there's
Yep.
a lot again, so many different brands, and I'm sure that when folks see this, they're gonna go, "Oh my God, he did that!" And it's like, yeah, it's pretty cool. I see one in here, Sonics. I think it's Sonics. It
Yep.
looks like basketball, and
Yeah,
I don't think we
so
don't have a Sonics team anymore, but. I'm thinking that
We-
one. I'm
I
thinking.
was just going to say we worked with Ann Ossie is the woman that I worked for at Major League Baseball, and if you see something for Major League Baseball, anything, it came from Ann Ossie. It was just such a gracious lady to work with, and so smart and so talented herself. Well, her parallel. What's the word I'm looking for? Um, you know,
Right.
the NOC at the NBA was then. He's got his own thing going now, but Tom O'Grady, and again, talented guy, brilliant guy, and just a ton of fun to work with, and just somebody I really value the time that we work together because such a great guy. And the other thing that can't be lost on you as you go back and you look at these things, um, they're little bits of history.
Right. Absolutely.
In fact, I don't know how this is working, Bob, but if you are, what's on screen? Logos or me?
What I just put on was another screen. It was you, but
Okay.
but
Let me just show you something real quick.
okay. Let me bring it back to you, and I'm going to put you on full screen now so folks can see it.
Okay.
And there you go.
So I went and got some new shoes
Okay.
for going to the gym, and they had hats there. So check this out. This is a secondary mark from the Vancouver Grizzlies brand program. That's I guess released. It's a New Era cap, and
And who did that?
I think I did this.
Hey, let's see that again. If you could just hold that up so
Sure.
folks can see that. Yeah, it's focusing in now. That's good. That's cool.
But it was just so then so I was with Amy,
Yeah.
my beloved better half,
Yeah.
and she's telling me, he did that, and I'm thinking to
Well,
myself,
if I was with you, I'd say the same thing as Amy. I would. I'd say this is the guy who designed it. This is his design. I would do the same thing. I know. I know you're very modest, and you don't. You're a genius when it comes to this. Okay, you just won't admit it.
oh, that's
The
so
stuff
kind
that
of you.
the stuff that comes out of your mind and onto paper and into that computer is amazing. And if you don't do it yourself, it's going to be Amy or it's going to be myself saying you are the greatest when it comes to this.
Oh, that's very, very kind. I really appreciate that, buddy. It's very kind.
Well, it's the truth.
Well,
And
I think that any kid that grows up to be somebody like me, this is how you communicate. You know, I enjoy what I do, but kind of as we were talking about before, I really enjoy that other people enjoy what I do. You kind of feel like when you're building a brand, when you're and however that brand manifests is if it's some of the gigantic architectural applications that we were talking about earlier, or if it's this cap, which I couldn't excuse my reference to language, I couldn't effing believe that when I walked in, I said, "Oh my God, I can't. This is a new issue, and it's out there." It was just a secondary mark for a program. Any way that you can communicate, of course, you feel, something, a tie to the work that you do. And, it's just really rewarding to have people enjoy your work.
I have a question for you before I go ahead and show the next slide here because we have so
Yes, sir.
many different slides. Has any you work with so many colleges and I brought this up the other day because I am working at a college right now, and I was wondering have any of the colleges ever actually approached you to say, hey, can you come online like you're doing right now with us and talk a little bit about what we do for our folks that might be in marketing or they want to go into branding and try to pick your brain and of how you design this stuff. I mean, most of this is coming from your mind, right? But have they ever tried to talk to you on this? Because it's really kind of interesting, and I think that this could be a class.
Yeah, actually, yes. There are a number. I mean, now that you mention it, not nearly as many as I'd like to.
Yeah.
Uh, but people get busy, and But yes, I do enjoy that communication. Uh, I do enjoy doing those kinds of speaking engagements, and you know, it's all about balance. So when I do something like that, I'm there to communicate as much as I possibly can. But I'm also there to listen. I'm also there to hear what other people have to say. Because everybody's story is fascinating and everybody's perspective is different. And
Right.
it's great when you can come together on these things and inform each other. Again, just to go back to politics for a second, but I'm not one of those people that I don't care how people vote. I just want them to vote.
Right.
I just want us to all be engaged in a process. And and I think that's can be said. The same can be said for branding wherever you are. If it's well, here, hold on, just a second.
Oh. Oh.
Here's a branding process a lot of people engage in.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Yeah. Hold it still. There you go. And it looks like does it say Fireball?
It does say Fireball.
Okay.
Until later in the night when you're looking through the back of the label and you can see through to the little guy inside, and it says, Labby Riff. I don't know how many times people have said, let me have some Labby Riff, but yes, it says Fireball.
Yeah, and that's another one of your brands.
And credit, let me give my shout out to the brilliant Ross Sutherland, who is the guy that I did this project with. A genius.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, we figured out that we've been working together for, God, I don't know, 25, 30 years now. And, but yeah, here's my biggest compliment to Ross Sutherland. Ross, if you're watching, I've worked with him for 25, maybe 30 years. Every time we work together, I learned something new. So either he's really got a lot to say, or I've got a terrible memory. Maybe a little bit of both.
Okay, and as we say that, now I'm bringing up a frame here, and it's a full frame, and it's the Bakersfield Roadrunners. And
yes.
It shows the new gold standard is up in the upper left-hand corner of this frame. Yes. It shows baseball and all different kinds of sports here.
Yeah, and again, it's a facilities-wide process. And again, it's one of those deals where we got. I'm just looking for something here if I can find it. Mm-hmm. But I'll keep talking while I'm looking. We started, fortunately enough, by doing their branding, their graphics, their logos, their core branding program, which is still in use today, and we still work with these guys today. And Karen Langston and Corey Costello are both folks that have been really my and Amy's direct report. So yeah. They worked hands with us to develop all this stuff. But it's, again, launching from the core brand. And once you get past the style guides and once you get past the brand guides, now we're getting an opportunity to do advertising for collegiate athletics.
Yeah.
They're not going to be pressed to make a TV buy or a print buy, but in addressing the look of their facilities, that's where the campaign's going to run.
Yeah, and with that, it looks like a frame that shows a bunch of mascots on here. So you're even into mascot design.
Yeah, something that hopefully, sometimes the brief is we want something that will resonate with our older core groups, and but whatever you do, don't scare the kids.
Is that that's the process behind that one, right?
Right.
Uh,
But yeah, I love doing mascot design because again, it's just another facet of the brand. Um, we talk about cradle to grave marketing, or some people do, and when we did LSU, we did the university and athletics at the same time. Now there's a buddy, my dear friend, super smart guy. I didn't know I was going to do this, Bob, but I'm spending most of my time here talking about other people. But that's, you know what, that's only fair given the nature of the work we produce. But Matt Shanklin, again, a genius, and such a sweet guy, such a smart guy, really, really good at what he does. We worked with Matt to brand the Arkansas Razorbacks. We worked with them again 10 years later to rebrand them. There's a huge licensing, CLC licensing company puts out their top 75 list every year. And I think the first ranking was that their merch got up to 13. And I apologize to anybody if I get these numbers wrong, but I know then the second time we did it, they broke the top 10 with merchandise sales. So that was fantastic. Matt is now over CBS dealing and working on LSU's stuff over there. Super smart guy, owe a lot to him, and just a joy to work with. But yeah, he was a big part of pulling all of this stuff together. And, again, I'm just thinking through this as we go. I think that we learn a lot from the people that we work with, the Rosses, the Matts, the Anns, the Toms, people who on paper are ostensibly the client.
Right.
But actually, if you're being honest, those guys, they're we're all team players on the same team.
Right.
And, you can't help but learn from them as you go. And learning as you go helps you redefine yourself, helps you up the level of your game, helps you do your job better. And that's really, when you do what I do, that's at the core of the process. I just want to do it the best. I just want to be the best.
And you are the best. Now, before we go forward again, how do people get in touch with you and your company?
Okay, 973-763-8200. That's the phone number. 917-992-3482. That's the cell number that gets answered the most. PhoenixDesignWorks.com is our website. There's contact. You can email us. There's a contact module at the bottom. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. What else? Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and all of those channels provide a little option to contact us as well.
Great. Now,
yes, sir.
I'm putting up a slide here, and what I have here are some commercial companies that you've worked with, and I see on this particular frame, I'm looking at a lot of Disney stuff on here.
Mm.
Mouse Car, and I'm seeing just
fantastic. But I love working with Disney. We had an interesting history there too.
My cousin works with Disney.
Oh, really? What do they do?
That's Goofy.
Oh, get out!
Yeah, Goofy.
Oh, how cool! How cool!
My cousin Goofy.
Absolutely. I would love it. I'd love a picture sometime, buddy.
Oh, I'm sure you'll get one. So I have I put
again, clearly there's an agenda. When you have a brand like Disney, and this is true for a lot of colleges, true for pro. One of the things that I noted about when I first started doing professional sports branding, one thing that occurred to me, unlike consumer products, is that your product can, let's say, not be performing as well as you'd like it to, uh, and yet your packaging, your merchandise program, can still sell through the roof.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you're doing Maxwell House coffee and the coffee tastes to a certain level of expectation for the consumer, they'll continue to buy it.
Right.
I don't think the packaging will change that if the contents of the package is not what it should be. With sports, we all want to win. Only one of us is going to win, but we love that challenge. We love that competitive process. We love the act of sports. So even though you didn't, quote unquote, win, you can still sell a ton of merchandise.
Yeah. And
and then when we get to the collegiate level and when we get to Disney,
yeah.
So Disney with the parks, the beloved characters, Mickey Mouse has, of course, been global for a century.
Right.
I was fortunate to work with their consumer products group all over the place. I got to work on their film properties. I got to work on their web presence. I got to work in their packaging. So really, I mean, there was a couple of areas I didn't get to, but I've been able to work in just about every area of business that Disney has. And, what could be better?
Must be fun.
Yeah.
And I'm putting up the next slide of commercial. Sorry, we're getting a little bit of feedback there, but don't worry about that. So I actually see Fireball up there too on this particular frame. John, looks like John Deere.
Yes, John Deere. I love John Deere. Well, as anybody who's got to go out there and do the yard work,
yep.
We all love John Deere.
Yeah, yeah. So there's you have a number of different commercial entities that you've worked with. I'm going to hit the next slide here. My goodness. It's kind of small on my end to see it, and I know that you can't see this stuff, but our folks at home, I think one of them, is that Sky Vodka?
Yeah, that was actually a test thing and an exploratory thing we did. But one of the things that I thought was unique about what we were showing there was how come nobody's ever put Sky on a bottle of Sky Vodka?
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't know. Sometimes that can be a big idea. Sometimes it could be a let's move on idea.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. And then let's see. I'm going to hit the next slide here. I brought you back in with me.
Good.
But going to show the next slide here. Oh, and it looks like I think what this is the branding and not so much or logos. And it's like Drake University and St. Joseph's, and it looks like it's logos, actual logos that you've actually produced instead of the. I guess you would call it. Our logos really aren't the same as branding, are they? I mean, it's part of it.
I've written a lot about this, and the way I kind of sum it up is I say, well, a logo is certainly part of branding. I think logos are what most people think of when they think of branding.
Yeah.
We live in a Nike world, an Under Armour world, a Reebok, Adidas world. And so first thing I think of when I think of any of those brands is their logo.
Yeah.
I was reading an interesting thing a week ago or something. It was talking about the origins of stuff. And with the Adidas logo, I think those diagonal lines are meant to suggest the mountain. So if you're a runner, we've always got a mountain that we're trying to get up. I could be wrong. I didn't do that logo, but I believe that was the idea. Anyhow, so when we think of brands, I think often our go-to in our mind is the logo. I'm actually I did a process for a while there where I was curious how you take not just the logo, but we're doing a bunch of stuff for Michigan, and so I was interested in how people remember logos.
Yeah.
You know how that image stays in their mind. So there's the Arkansas, whether it's the Razorback that
Right.
stays in their mind. What's the Michigan M? Let's see. You know,
Yep.
and I think that that's a very interesting. I think that it's almost like it's very similar to a dating process, to a romantic process. There's a courtship involved. There's maintaining your relationship. There's a wedding. You know, they're all things about branding. Everybody's watching this right now has within their grasp something that they consider a comfort to them. You know, so that branding isn't necessarily that. You know, it's our image of what we maintain as that brand. So, for example, Homer Simpson, to quote Homer, is donuts.
Yep.
So branding can be a social currency. Branding can be something that we use to make our lives smoother, a reward process. And it's either things that are aspirational or it's things that are inspirational.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's
Yep.
either something that makes me want to be a better X, or it's something that is a better whatever it is that I want to be. So, that up or down relationship that we have with brands are very similar to what it means to be a human being.
Gotcha. Well,
Yeah.
listen, we've gone probably almost an hour today, believe it or not. I know
Get out.
I know you're not looking at time, but it's been, of course, always exciting and informational and kind of cool to talk to you. And I want the folks to meet the genius behind your favorite brand, and you have today. And there he goes again.
Thank you, buddy. It's always a joy to talk with you.
Yeah.
I really love our interactions.
But before we let you go, I am gonna now. You broke it a little bit, and I will be starting a 24-hour sports network coming up here,
Yay!
coming up here fairly soon. That will be on the internet because guess what? That's the way things are going today.
That's right.
And Jamie has offered to help me, and he's putting together a logo for me right now, and it's going to be fun, and I'm sure it's going to be
great.
it's going to be fun. I'm sure he probably
It's going to be big, Bob. You're
it'll
going to
be-
be so tired of winning.
Yeah, it's okay. And but it will be big. It will be fun, and of course Jamie will join us on our 24-hour spot as well.
Absolutely.
Once we get that going, but it's always fun. It's always fun talking to you. You're amazing. But before I let you go,
Yes, sir.
I want you again to give out the information that if people want to, and I'll say people want to come to you, companies want to come to you, universities, organizations want to come to you. How do they get in touch with you?
Okay. Thank you, sir. And again, thank you for everything, Bob. Just seriously, just an absolute pleasure. I love every minute we have together. So it's Phoenix Design Works, phoenixdesignworks.com, 973-763-8200. And let me make sure I didn't just blow that. Yes, I'm looking at it. I've got so many numbers in my head. Amy would kill me if I got it wrong. 973-763-8200. And the cell, if you can't reach it, because we do work around the clock.
Yes.
I got to be available. So 917-992-36 3482. And you can reach us through Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. All social media channels.
And, you've mentioned Amy a few times, and it wouldn't be right if I just went ahead and didn't recognize Amy on the show. And,
Absolutely.
And Amy not only is your better half, but she's also your better half in the company as well.
She is. She's fantastic at client service. She handles all our client service and all of our sales stuff, new business, and she is. Now it's interesting because I met Amy through printing. She was doing large digital format printing, but she is every bit as committed and determined about this business as I am. So absolutely, I worship the ground she walks on.
You guys are a perfect match there, right? Because
I'd like to think so.
Yeah, you don't have to worry as much about the business, and you can think about that creative end. I know you still have your hand in everything.
Yeah.
But you still can rely on Amy to take care of that business side, where you can just be the creative genius that you
absolutely. I'm so lucky to have her in my life. So yeah, in so many ways, and whether she did this with me or not, she's fantastic at what she does.
And
so
I'm sure
very talented lady.
I'm sure your clients love working with her. Listen, again, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you, buddy.
I just can't believe that it's been 5 years.
Okay, so now when is the channel launching?
You know what? I put it, first of all, I came up with the idea probably 3 months ago now.
Yep.
And I originally said it's going to be a 2-year plan. But the only thing is, I figured out how to do things a little bit quicker, and then I said, well, I want it on a 1-year plan. But now I'm actually starting to think that it might be on like an 8-month plan. There's still lots of things to go into it, because if you're going to be on 24 hours a day, and even our friends over at ESPN, I think everybody in our business, they're not a competitor. We work side by side, right?
Absolutely.
And even ESPN isn't on 24 hours a day. It's on being aired 24 hours a day, but it doesn't have fresh content 24 hours a day. And they do replay in the middle of the night. And I'm not saying, I think that in the beginning, I might have to do that as well. But I really believe that in a short time after that, I think that we're going to have 24-hour live programming. Live content, right.
I think you will too. There's a real need for what you're doing. There's again, it's one of those instances where the biggest function of your branding and your promotion is just getting the message out to people so that they are aware of you. Because I think once they come into this world, they're going to stay.
Exactly.
How could you not?
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be fun. And it's going to be, guys like me who, enjoy sports. And I've always looked at sports from a different side of view, and I'll get into what I do here just for a second. This is your show, though. Is that I've really never really cared about stats. I've really cared about players for who they are and what they've done and what they've done to accomplish of where they're at.
Yes.
Because in the way I look at it, if they can go ahead and they can talk about that, maybe they can help young athletes out there.
Yes.
Folks that are trying to break into the business.
Absolutely.
That's what I hope that our show and that our network does.
The human side of things.
Exactly. Because you know what? When it comes down to it, we're all humans. Listen, the first thing I said when I became a professional bowler, and that's now 30 years ago, is my first thing when I got my card in my hand and it said PBA, I said, now how can I give back? That was the first thing I said.
For you, man. Absolutely.
And I said, if this means something, if anything, if anybody cares that I'm a professional bowler. How can I help them? Well, what did I do is that I started going out to schools,
Yeah.
events, started talking to people. I put together one of the largest bowling tournaments to benefit Leukemia Research Foundation
Wow.
in the Chicagoland area. That
Wow.
raised probably, well, back in that day, $25,000 to $30,000, and this was only a couple-hour event every year,
Wow.
and that was every year earning that, and just trying to give back.
Bless you,
So,
man. But you know what? Yeah, I was just thinking, oh my God, Bob, that's why we get along so well together. You're a man after my own heart.
well,
When I look at the folks that we, again, and I'm not just, I truly feel honored and blessed to be able to do what we do with the folks that we get to do it with. And, when I'm standing there and I'm kind of, when I'm at their facilities and I'm looking around and stuff, and I say, it's not my job to tell you what to do with your revenue, but it is my job to give you a program that's capable of generating revenue. And whenever I see a kid that's getting a scholarship or that's getting, if their department has enough money that they can bring some kids in who otherwise wouldn't have been able to have a collegiate or collegiate sports athletics experience, that I'd like to believe I help that to happen.
yep,
That-
absolutely.
and so in ways that we don't even imagine, that's how doing what we do changes lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, I just want you to keep up doing the great things that you do. I mean, again, amazing. Guys, you're looking at genius right here. I mean, I know I can't even hardly write my name, but this guy puts this stuff down on paper and it comes out of his mind, and it's amazing.
Can you see? Is the camera on me or?
Oh, I can put. There's the cameras on you all the
This
way.
this is what my handwriting has deteriorated to. My handwriting is now worse than any doctor that you've ever had in your life.
Well, you know what? Today everything is.
But I can still draw pretty good.
That's right. You can draw. Listen, here, take it from a guy who failed art, right? And hey, you're laughing. I'm serious. So what did I have to do?
Well, how can you fail art? That's like.
Well, I can tell you. Here's how I failed art.
Yes.
I put together in an art project a big round ball and painted it brown. The thing is, yeah, okay. So I have to tell this story before I get off the air, because hey, listen, we're on the internet and we get to say whatever we want to say here, right?
Yes, absolutely.
But so I put that together. My art teacher back in the day, all he wanted to do was go after the young girls in the class. Okay, well, yeah. So so first of all, I didn't like that part,
right.
And so he was failing me, and I don't know. I must have said something in class one day, and I want to see your father. Get your father in here.
Oh boy!
It's like, why, he's frightening me? My dad was a tough guy. Okay,
sure.
My dad taught judo and wrestling in the Army.
Wow, he was a tough guy.
And of course, I'm taller than him, but he stood 5'4". And he didn't take any BS. And he went in there, and he told the art teacher that art didn't mean crap. Okay, and among other things. So after that, so that's why I failed art. But you know what? Next year, I had to take I think it was in the art realm, and one of it was drafting.
Okay.
And so I took drafting, and I wasn't very good at that either. But I had probably one of the best teachers I ever had, and one of the nicest guys. His name was Clarence Starling. I'm sure he's probably somewhere up in up in
Drafting
heaven
table in the sky, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. But I still remember him, and I remember his name from this day. And he
Hmm.
was one of the just a great guy. And I probably learned more about drafting that I really didn't care about that either, right? Uh, but
Well, this is your love.
yeah,
This is what you want, and this is art just as much as anything anybody else does.
yeah, and I happen like you. I happen to love what I do. But
Hmm.
listen, today's show it was about you. I'm glad we got the word out now that the network is going to be starting, and
I'm thrilled.
and the name of the network is just what it sounds like: 24-hour Sports Network. That is the name. You'll see it at .com pretty soon, and you'll see Jamie's logo right there. And
That's how I'm spending my weekend, buddy.
well, listen, I appreciate not only everything that you do for me and coming on our show. This is the second time, but this show is not going away this time. But
No, we're
and
going to
and I
preserve our content.
right, and I'll actually send you the link as well, so you can put it off of yours as
Oh,
well.
I'd love that.
But again, I'm going to play some music, get us out of here, and I appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you having me, buddy.
But
So much
again,
fun.
before I let you go,
Yes, sir.
tell our viewers again how they get in touch with you.
Phoenix Design Works, 973-763-8200. If you're calling from the West Coast and it's after hours or whatever it is, you can reach us 917-992-3482. PhoenixDesignWorks.com, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and a couple of others.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'm going to apologize to all our viewers out there that when you see that little error message that pops up on the bottom, don't worry about that. Just watch the content, listen to the content, and I think you're going to have fun. Not only knowing Jamie, but knowing the man behind your favorite brands. Jamie, hang on a second. I'm going to play a little something, get us out of here, and I'll be right back with you.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
All right, everybody, this is Bob Kingpin Harris. Stay safe, everybody.